Well, good morning, everyone. It's lovely that you're able to come and listen in this morning. My name's Andrew Davis, and I'm helping out with the church here in Axe and up in Tylerstown at this time. Well, this is a big week for us as a church as we say farewell to Rob Morgan, a man deeply loved by the church. And this week we want to stand with Gaynor as we thank God for his life and remember him fondly. It would be impossible to remember Rob without some laughter and some joy, but also that sense of hope that we will see him and he is in a better place. And that is happening on Wednesday at 11:15. So there is an online link that you can join in and watch with us at that time. So please pray for Gaynor this week as she goes through all of this. Another notice is on the 12th of December, we've got a Santa Claus going around Tylerstown in a sleigh, and we'll also be handing out invitations to come and join us on the 13th for an online carol service, which will just be something to celebrate and bring a bit of light into this time that we're in. Well, I want to speak today from Ephesians chapter 6. It's a letter that Paul wrote to a church in Ephesus, and it's one of his last letters, and he's in house arrest while he's writing this, and he is full of hope and encouragement, but he ends with these interesting verses. In verse 19 he says this: "Pray also for me, that words may be given to me in the opening of my mouth boldly to proclaim the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that I may declare it boldly as I ought to speak." And it just grabs me that here's Paul near the end of his life in house arrest, but he still wants to make Jesus known. He still wants to make the gospel known to those around him, even though the people around him are probably the ones who are holding him captives. He still wants them to know the truth, and he's saying, please pray for me. I remember hearing a man called Steve Chalke many years ago speak, and he was talking about presenting songs of praise, and they were doing something on an aeroplane, and it was one of the first airplanes that had a sort of computer navigation system. And he said it was slightly frightening because they were in the cockpit with the pilot and the co-pilot, and he said as they were sort of sitting there, suddenly the pilot just pressed the red button, and the engine started and the plane started thrusting forward. And it took off. And he said there was a moment as they were flying along where suddenly he could see this other plane coming. And it was coming at great speed towards them. And Steve said he was actually starting to get a little bit nervous, thinking, we're going to hit that plane. And wondering why no one else seemed to be worried about it. And then sure enough, the planes went over and under. There was actually probably a very big gap, but they went under. And he just said, Why does the plane go over the top of us? And the pilot said, well, the passengers don't like seeing planes out the window, so we try and do it that they go over and under each other so that they do it. But for Steve, it felt like it was a near miss. But the guy flying it said, no, nowhere near a near miss. And then the plane suddenly turned to the right, and the pilot said, oh, that's where I would have turned right if I was flying the plane. Anyway, it's an interesting moment, but as I remembered that this week, I was thinking about the season that we're in. We're in a season where people that we know and love are being confronted daily with death totals. COVID has brought fear right across our society. People don't quite know how to react. And you kind of sit there and think, is this a season where it's making people ask some big questions? People are asking, is there any hope? Is there any assurance at this time? Is there any reason for our lives? Is there any meaning? At the same time, here we are in the church sitting with the greatest answer of all. Yes, there's hope. Yes, there's an answer. Yes, there's meaning to your life. Yes, you're loved. Yes, you can come and have a relationship with God. We live with this great truth. But wouldn't it be disastrous if at this moment in time we were a bit like the two planes on autopilot, where actually they kind of just miss each other? that those in the world asking questions don't actually come across the church saying we've got the answers and actually be able to join and bring the hope. I don't want this to be a season where we say, well, that was a near miss. We could have done more, but we didn't. And at this moment in time, you sit there and think, in Acts, we've got this phenomenal building work going on, that middle floor. And that middle floor has been designed for a place for people to come in and find truth. A place for people to come in and find the great hope, the message of the gospel, the message of the good news of Jesus Christ, the message that the kingdom of God is here right now and they can experience it. The trouble is, so much of our mission sometimes can feel quite legalistic. You have to do this. You have to do this. I remember many years ago I was doing an evangelism workshop. I was in my 20s and I used to travel down each Saturday to this place in Brighton and they were teaching us on evangelism and they used to give you homework. And the homework was like, you've got to tell 2 people about Jesus this week and next week come back with a testimony. Oh, I hated it. And to make things worse, my imagination went mad. There was a girl in the group who was just phenomenal. No, you kind of know she would walk outside and say hello to someone and they'd become a Christian. And she was kind of sitting there and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at her and thinking, I bet next week what was going to be is she'll come back and say, yes, I just left the building and 100 people were standing outside and I told them, would you like to know Jesus? And they all said, yes, please. And I led them all to the Lord and I'm there under pressure. On my way back, I filled up the car with petrol and I remember getting back in the car and thinking, oh no, I should have told the man behind the pump about Jesus. All week, I get beating myself up. I should have told him about Jesus. I should have told her about Jesus. I should have told them about Jesus. I was so het up about telling people about Jesus, I didn't tell anyone about Jesus. Until Saturday morning. And Saturday morning, just as I was about to leave to go down to the workshop and where I was going to have to give an account for what I'd done that week, there was a knock at the door. I opened the door and there were 2 Jehovah's Witnesses. Yes! Get in! Oh, I gave them all. I told them about Jesus. I was in full flow. Oh, and I travelled down to give my homework and I stood up and I told them about these Jehovah's Witnesses and how I told them about Jesus. And someone said, doesn't sound very loving actually, Andrew. And I suddenly stopped and thought, oh, actually, I just wanted to get the homework done. I wasn't actually interested in telling them about Jesus. So they weren't interested. In fact, it's interesting that Jesus says, we will be known as his disciples by your love. And actually, at that moment in time, me telling these people about Jesus, there was nothing loving about it. I just want to get my homework done. See, we need to come back to a place of love and say, actually, we've got hope. We've got something so beautiful that actually I want people to know about this. No, I'm not embarrassed by this. I'm not awkward by this. I just want it to be natural that in my conversation I tell people about Jesus. That's what society needs right now. They don't need someone wagging the finger at them. They need someone just coming alongside and sharing the love of Jesus. Where they've got questions, we can bring answers. And where they've got questions and we haven't got the answers, we say, well, we know someone who can help you. See, Jesus, when he has received full authority, says to the disciples, you go therefore and make disciples. You go. Our commission is to tell people about Jesus. Our commission is to show the love of God. John 17 verse 18 says, as you sent me into the world, I send them into the world. And here, the verses that I read to you at the end of Paul's life, really, and there he is in prison in Ephesus, in prison, writing this letter to the church in Ephesus. Paul's not well. He's not a healthy man at this point, yet he wants them to pray that he would have boldness. Now, don't you find that encouraging? Don't you find that incredibly encouraging? When I think of the Apostle Paul, I don't think of someone lacking boldness. I don't think of someone, just got my notes, I don't think of someone who is kind of lacking boldness and is timid. But here's Paul, who's been into places where people have thrown stones at him and he's had to battle for people to know about Jesus. Yeah, here's the Apostle Paul saying, pray for me that I would have boldness. I find that so encouraging. If Paul needs prayer to be bold to let people know about Jesus, how much you and me need that? How much more do we need it? And so we see here, this is following on from Paul's teaching about our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual powers and dominions. And he's saying that, please pray, because the enemy does not want us to share our faith, doesn't want us to share our testimony. It's a battle. Pray for boldness. But Paul's aim is to share the gospel. Why? Because the mystery of the gospel has been revealed to us. In Romans 1, verse 16, he says, "For I'm not ashamed of the gospel." I'm not ashamed of this. Why? Because it's good news. This is good news. Paul knew the gospel. He knew it. It shaped him. He loved it. In the same way for us who have come to know Jesus and understand the grace of God and encounter his abundance love, the mystery has been revealed to you and me. Therefore, we want people to know this. We want to share this. We want people to know the love of God and how it's been manifested in his Son. We want others to know this in the same way Paul did. This is key to mission. The key is this: the gospel is no longer a mystery to you and me. It has been revealed. The good news of Christ has been revealed. Therefore, the more I look at this, the more I fall in love with God, the more I fall in love with Christ, the more I fall in love with what has been done for me. I get excited. I just think, I want others to experience this. You know, when something good happens, you want others to know about it. It's amazing, you know, if you ever go on social media and someone's had a good experience in a restaurant, they're telling people. They say, come and do this because I've enjoyed it and it'll be good. You know, if a TV program, someone's enjoying a TV program, people say, come on, you'll enjoy this. Oh, you'll like this. In the same way, surely that's when we realise the mystery of the gospel. This is the greatest truth that's ever been told and it's been revealed to you and me. I want others to experience this. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed. This isn't something I have to do as a work of homework. This is me. This is what I want to do. I've got a passion for Jesus. I want people to experience this. Paul wanted to share this truth as a result of the relationship that he's got with Jesus. Paul's position, I love this. In verse 20, he says, I'm an ambassador of Christ. He knows his position. In 2 Corinthians 5, verse 20, he says, we are ambassadors of Christ. When you think of an ambassador, what do you think? You think of someone who's a representation of the government, of those in authority, there on foreign soil. He is someone who's trustworthy. She's someone who can present well what is happening back at home. That is our calling. We're to be ambassadors, that we can represent well that which has happened in heaven and is now here on earth. That we can represent Christ. We're Christ's representation on earth. When people say, where's Jesus today? He's here and here. He's with us. We are here to just show him. We've been given the Great Commission. We've been told to go. And so, like Paul, I think we need to ask for prayer that we can make known the mystery of the gospel to those around us. The Holy Spirit wants to come and equip you and me so that we can share this gospel at this key time so that people can come and experience the love of God. A friend of mine who's a real evangelist, he just has led many people to know Jesus, says this: sometimes people find it difficult to bring friends through to the kingdom because they lack boldness to ask the question. See, what I love well in this passage is that Paul asks for the right words to be given. And we want the right words at the right time. My prayer is that I am able to be boldly able to present Jesus, but with the right words, lovingly and caringly in lots of different situations. There's not that awkward moment where, oh, here he goes, I'm going to say about Jesus. But actually it's just a natural and the right words that are comforting and strengthening. I love also, that we also don't just present the gospel with words, but also a power. Paul says in 1 Corinthians 2, not just wise and persuasive words, but a demonstration of the power of God. We want to be people who are able to present the fullness of the gospel and the bit that we've got and what we've received, but also knowing that God is at work. There's a world to be won. There's a valley to be impacted with Jesus. And our passion is at this moment in time that as people are coming to terms with death and life and COVID and all of this sort of things and financial struggles, that actually where they find hope is here with us. We're the ones who will bring this hope. We're the ones who will bring this comfort and this encouragement. We're the ones who've got that because the mystery of the gospel has been revealed to us. We've got a powerful message. We've got a message that means we can go to a funeral this week full of hope that we will one day see Rob again because right now he's with Jesus. This is the message that is so powerful. We have been commissioned to make known the gospel. And so my encouragement to you this week is in conversation, be natural but present Jesus. And Lord, I pray for boldness and the right words that we can present you in every situation. Bless you and see you soon. Take care.